My husband didn't just break our vows. He brought her straight through our front door to watch me beg. "This is Amber," Derek said, his voice cold and unapologetic as he dropped a set of divorce papers onto the dining table. "She's moving in, you're moving out, and you have until Sunday." For 8 years, I had quietly built his business from behind the scenes, pouring every cent of my inheritance into his startup, while he took all the glory. He thought I was weak. Amber smirked, already running her fingers across my furniture like she owned it. But they made one fatal mistake. They assumed our 7-year-old son, Leo, was just playing quietly on the living room rug with his tablet. When Leo looked up and spoke 7 simple words into the microphone, Derek's smug smile vanished, and Amber turned ghost white. "My name is Rachel. I am 34 years old, and for 8 years, I believed I was building a life with a partner who valued our family above all else." That illusion shattered on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. The front door swung open, but Derek wasn't alone. Walking in behind him was a woman in her late 20s, drenched in expensive perfume and wrapped in a tailored trench coat that cost more than a month's mortgage. Rachel, Derek corrected himself with an irritated wave of his hand, not even caring that he had stumbled over my name. "This is Amber. We need to settle this quickly." Before I could process the sheer audacity of her standing in my foyer, Derek tossed a thick manila folder onto the dining table. The legal stamp of a divorce petition glared back at me under the chandelier light. "I'm moving in," Amber announced, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness as she stepped into the living room, trailing wet footprints across the hardwood floors. She ran her manicured nails over the cedar console table my father had built for us. "The layout is a bit dated, Derek. We'll definitely need to remodel once she clears her things out. You have until Sunday to pack your personal belongings," Derek added, loosening his tie with complete indifference. "I'm taking the house, the vehicle, and primary custody of Leo. Sign the uncontested waiver, and I won't drag your name through a messy court battle. Make it hard, and you'll leave with nothing." They stood together like conquerors, entirely convinced I was too broken to fight back. I looked at Derek, standing there puffed up with false confidence, and felt a strange calm settle over the shock. He genuinely believed he had built the ground he was standing on. What he seemed to have forgotten was who laid the foundation. 6 years ago, Derek was an unemployed logistics manager with an ambitious concept and zero capital. It was my late grandfather's trust fund, $450,000 of inherited family money, that bought his first 3 commercial transport vans, rented his warehouse, and covered his payroll during the lean first 2 years. Derek had the charisma to pitch clients, but he lacked business sense. To protect his delicate ego, I agreed to stay out of the public spotlight. I was the silent partner, the invisible architect who coded the routing algorithms, managed the back-end compliance, and structured the operating agreements late into the night while he slept. He had become intoxicated by the title of CEO. Over the last 8 months, his late-night investor dinners had turned into weekend trips to Aspen, all charged to the corporate card. Just 3 weeks ago, my automated audits flagged nearly $120,000 in diverted operational funds flowing straight into boutique jewelry accounts and luxury beachfront rentals under Amber's name. He thought I was just a quiet housewife folding his laundry while he conquered the corporate world. He had convinced himself that the company, the house, and the wealth were entirely his creation, completely blind to the legal reality behind how every single asset had been secured. Amber rested a hand on Derek's shoulder, looking at me with thinly veiled disgust. "Look at her, Derek. She's completely paralyzed. Just hand her the pen so we can get to our dinner reservation." Before Derek could reach for the folder, a soft electronic chime broke the tense silence. On the oversized rug near the bay window, our 7-year-old son, Leo, slowly set his tablet down against the coffee table. He wasn't playing games, and he wasn't watching cartoons. For the past 20 minutes, Leo had been working on his 3rd-grade class project about modern technology, using an external broadcast microphone paired directly with his school tablet to record family interviews. "Mom," Leo said, his clear, innocent voice cutting through the room like a razor. "Does this mean Daddy won't take me to soccer practice anymore?" "Leo, go upstairs to your room," Derek ordered sharply, his brow furrowing in irritation. Grown-ups are talking. Leo didn't move. Instead, he reached out and tapped the glowing red icon on his screen, hitting pause on an active recording session. Then, he looked directly at Amber with wide, curious eyes. "Is this the lady from the hallway?" Leo asked, pointing a small finger at her. "The one who told Daddy in the elevator that once the stupid papers are signed, you get the whole company fund?" The air in the room vanished. Amber's smug smirk instantly evaporated into sheer panic, while Derek froze, his face draining of all color. "What did you say?" Derek stammered, taking an involuntary step toward our son. Leo innocently hit the playback button on his tablet. The external speaker blasted their crystal-clear conversation into the quiet room, Amber laughing, Derek coaching her on how to intimidate me, and both of them detailing how they plan to strip my grandfather's funds by Monday morning. The recorded audio bounced off the vaulted ceiling, every word an undeniable confession. Amber's eyes darted wildly toward the front door, while Derek stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water.
I didn't yell.
I didn't shed a single tear. Instead, I walked over to the mahogany credenza beside the fireplace, slid open the center drawer, and pulled out two thick, bound blue folders labeled Whitaker Enterprise Holdings. I walked back to the dining table and tossed them directly over Derek's pathetic divorce petition. "You've been so busy playing the powerful executive that you never bothered to read the contracts you signed for years ago," I said, my voice steady, sharp, and commanding. Derek blinked, trying to regain his composure. "What is this nonsense, Rachel? I'm the CEO. I built this brand from scratch. That tablet recording doesn't change property law." "Actually, it changes everything," I replied, opening the top portfolio to the corporate registry. "You're the face of the company, Derek, but you only own a 12% operational stake. The remaining 88%, along with every proprietary software patent that runs the transport network, belongs to an irrevocable trust held exclusively by me and Leo." Amber gasped, her head snapping toward Derek. "Wait, what? You told me you owned the whole firm. And as for this house," I continued, pointing to the deed attached beneath the audit summary, "it was bought with cash distributions from my grandfather's estate through that exact trust. Your name isn't on the deed. It isn't on the corporate lease. In fact, under the executive bylaws you signed, any intentional embezzlement of company assets results in the immediate termination of your employment contract, without severance." Derek's hands began to shake violently as he flipped through the pages, finally realizing the crushing reality of the trap he had walked into. Derek lunged across the rug toward Leo, his eyes wild. "Give me that tablet right now. Don't you dare step toward our son," I snapped, stepping directly between them. Before Derek could react, my phone, resting on the kitchen island, chimed and lit up on speaker mode. A crisp, authoritative voice filled the living room. "Good afternoon, Rachel. This is Marcus Vance. The emergency board quorum has concluded and corporate counsel is present on this line. We have received the digital upload of the audio file along with a preliminary forensic audit." Derek stopped dead in his tracks, his chest heaving, his face turning an ashen gray. "Marcus? What is this? I'm the founder of this company." "Not anymore, Derek," Marcus replied through the speaker, his tone completely flat. "In light of the documented $120,000 diversion into third-party personal accounts, combined with the recorded intent to defraud the majority shareholder, the board has unanimously voted for your immediate suspension as Chief Executive Officer. Private security and local law enforcement have been notified to ensure the preservation of all company records at your downtown office." Amber took 2 swift steps away from Derek, clutching her designer purse against her chest, as if he were radioactive. "You lied to me," she hissed, glaring at him with pure venom. "You said she was just an unemployed dependent. You said you had millions in private equity." "Amber, be quiet. I can fix this," Derek pleaded, reaching for her arm. "Don't touch me," she shrieked, yanking herself back and marching straight toward the front door. "I'm not getting dragged into a corporate embezzlement lawsuit for you." The heavy front door slammed shut behind her, leaving Derek standing completely alone in the center of the room. The silence in the room was heavy and suffocating. Derek stared at the closed front door, looking completely hollowed out as the reality of his shattered illusion finally crushed him. The woman he had risked his entire life for had vanished the very second his fabricated fortune evaporated into thin air. Within 48 hours, the legal hammer fell with absolute precision. Our corporate legal team filed an emergency civil injunction, freezing Derek's private accounts and seizing his company-issued luxury vehicle right out of the driveway. When the forensic accountants dug deeper into the books, they discovered another $80,000 in unauthorized wire transfers. Faced with undeniable digital evidence and the prospect of severe federal fraud charges, Derek's high-priced defense attorney advised him to surrender unconditionally. The divorce petition he had so smugly tossed onto my dining table became his own financial guillotine. Using the exact terms of our prenuptial agreement regarding corporate misconduct, I stripped him of every remaining stock option. He left the marriage with nothing more than his personal wardrobe, a leased sedan he could no longer afford, and the crippling responsibility of repaying the $200,000 he had stolen from our family trust. The court awarded me sole physical and legal custody of Leo, granting Derek only limited, supervised weekend visitation once a month. As I formally assumed the title of Chief Executive Officer at the firm's headquarters, word reached me that Amber had completely blocked his number, quickly moving on to her next unsuspecting target. Derek had set out to leave me with nothing, only to find himself standing alone in the wreckage of his own greed. 3 months later, peace finally returned to our home. Without Derek's reckless spending and constant interference, Whitaker Enterprise Holdings experienced its most profitable quarter to date. Stepping into the executive office as the true leader of the company I had built from the shadows felt natural, empowering, and long overdue. Leo and I replaced the dining table with a bright, handcrafted oak set where we now build Lego sets and do homework every evening without fear or tension. My son taught me that true strength isn't about being loud or domineering. It is about paying attention, keeping your composure, and letting arrogant people expose their own true character. Derek tried to use cruelty and intimidation to steal a life he never truly earned, but in the end, justice took care of the rest. Now, I want to hear from all of you who listened to my journey. What would you have done if your partner dared to walk someone into your home like that? Have you ever had to stand up and reclaim what was rightfully yours? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to tell me which city you are watching from today. I've put 2 of our most thrilling revenge stories on the screen right now. Make sure to click and watch them next. Thank you for staying until the very end.